Hi guys, I was wondering what to do for my first video, so I figured I'd show you real quick what my workbench looks like. Not the neatest affair, but I figured I'd also show you some of the things that I've made over the past few years. So I scoured the house looking for things that were here. Not everything is here, some stuff has wandered off elsewhere, but to start with, this right here is a tape loom made out of pine. For anyone who doesn't know, a tape loom, it's just a small little loom. This one you hold between your legs, your knees, while you're sitting, and you can make bands. I'm just using white right now, but you can do patterns and whatnot. To help me out with that, I have a netting needle. This is probably about 3 or 4 years old. I made this out of oak. Not the best choice for a netting needle because oak tends to catch fibers, but I managed to sand this down enough, and it's smooth enough, and it's aged pretty well. No finish or anything, this is just from leaving it out in the sun one summer. The tape loom's probably about 2 years old. So this is a makeshift whisk broom. I needed a whisk broom. My grandfather at the time was complaining that I was leaving too much sawdust and wood chips on his workbench, and so I didn't have a whisk broom. I couldn't find one, so I made one. I let the grass grow up pretty tall. I cut it. I dried it for a couple weeks. I made a broom maker's needle, which I sadly no longer have, and I made myself a broom. And it's a little worn, but considering it's just grass from the lawn, and it's about 3 years old, and it gets constant use, I'd say I did pretty good. Some other things I tend to carve a lot are spoons, kitchen utensils, and whatnot. I'm actually cheating here. This spoon was carved by my cousin. I was showing him how to carve spoons one day, and this is what he made. This is choke cherry. I don't usually recommend using choke cherry, but I had a piece on hand, and it was only for practice. But I think he did alright for his first spoon. Probably about 2 years old. The bowl, which I carved by hand, it's not turned or anything. This is maple. It's probably about a year and a half, 2 years old. It's had a pretty rough life, but it's still good for like a candy bowl. This spoon, this is maple. A lot of my stuff is maple birch or beech. This probably gets used more than anything else in the kitchen aside from the stove. On average, this thing gets used maybe once or twice a day. I usually find it in the dish drainer. But that's just a simple spoon I made one day. This is probably 2 or 3 years old. Still looking good. This is actually one of the first spoons I ever carved. This is when I first started, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And you can probably tell it's kind of a beginner's spoon. This I made for my mother for Mother's Day. Even the string. The string is I made that out of some cedar bark. Let that focus a bit. Maybe. Yep. So that's everything about this is homemade, even the string. And considering it was one of my first, I'm pretty pleased with it. At the time, I was reading up on some Algonquin Indian tribes, and so I think some of their style of woodwork trickled on down into this one. And then this I'm still working on. I'm not done with it yet. But this is a maple plate I'm making that I intend to use. I still have quite a bit to do to it, but that's getting close. This right here, it looks like a stick, and it is. It's a stick. This is a weather stick. It's made out of balsam fir. We've got a bunch of those growing up my way, and it'll bend one way or the other, depending on humidity. So it's a good indication on if there's good weather or bad weather coming. So I plan on making a bunch of these. Like I said, we have a bunch of fir trees around. I've been letting this one dry out, and it's got quite the curve to it now. So if it got real humid all of a sudden, it would look like that. So that's only maybe a month old. Some of the tools I use, I've made myself. This mallet, this is the oldest. This is from 2015. The head is maple and the handle is oak. And I had to cut a mortise all the way through this. And it's standing up pretty good. Couple dents, a little bit of wear, but pretty good. Pretty heavy. Good for a little bit of timber framing. This one I made probably 2 years ago. And actually, the only reason why I have this one is because one day I was working at the New Hampshire Farm Museum volunteering, and I needed this, but I couldn't find it. So, make do or do without, I found some scrap wood. There was a log on the ground, some pole pine. So I cut that square, and then I put a handle on it. So this is all pine. And so I had a mallet for the day. And I kind of charred the ends just to harden them a bit. I put a dish on this side, so I can put this in the vise, and I can bend some like sheet metal or some copper. Then this is just a small little mallet that I use for like some of my carving chisels, anything that needs a light touch. This is maple. It's got a nice split in it, but it hasn't moved much since that happened. So this is probably going to last forever. At least I hope it will. Not completely made by me, just some of the hatchets that I like to show off. This one's the oldest. This one I use a lot for hewing, so like hewing timbers. It's got a nice thin blade to it, so you can get a nice square beam. I'm eventually going to find a hewing axe. The head to this one comes from England. It was given to my mother by a friend of the family down in North Carolina, and well, she was using it once, the handle broke, and so she kept the head, but for a while she couldn't use it. So I took a piece of firewood, again maple, because everything I have is maple, and I made her this nice little handle. You don't usually want maple for a hatchet handle or like an axe handle, but she's only going to use this to take some branches off of, smaller logs and just small stuff. So I'm not real worried about the handle, and I gave it a bit of a buff chest up here, so you can hold it closer to the hatchet head. And so far she loves it. I'm not allowed to use it really. I put the handle on it, but I'm not allowed to use it. And that only took about a day, maybe. Another thing is, so we have a wood furnace in the basement, and when she's down stoking the fires, she wants something to sit on. So I made her real quick this little stool. Not the prettiest thing, maybe a little tipsy, but it works. I use it all the time, she uses it all the time. It's pretty light, easy to move, and it does the job. Something I'm real proud of is this. So this is a reproduction pipe box, an 18th century pipe box. So in the taverns or the inns in the day, you'd have the long tobacco pipes, the real long stemmed ones, the deacon pipes, so something about this size, and they'd have this hanging up on the wall, and you could put the pipes in there, and you could hold tobacco or matches in the drawer. This is all pine. I made this a few months ago, and I think it came out good. I even did a little bit of paneling, well, not quite paneling, but I did the facets for the drawer, and so I made the pipe box, and it came out good. I plan on selling this one and making some more, make a couple other boxes. So in short, that's basically what I have to show at the moment. Again, the bench is kind of a mess at the moment. I just wanted to show some of the things that I've made, a bit of a timeline here, so you can kind of see, starting early off, wasn't too pretty, but it was practical, and as time went on, you get a little better, and eventually, if you want, you can sell what you make. And I always go for practical. I like stuff to look good, but I always go for practical. So, for instance, it'd be very easy for me to make a plate out of pine and paint it, make it decorative, and hang it up on the wall. But I plan on using this almost all the time, almost as much as that. So I'll wrap it up here. Just one last shot. Also, before I forget, this broom I made maybe a month ago to sweep up the basement, all the wood chips from bringing in firewood and whatnot. Birch twigs, hemp cord, and the handle is witch hazel. Everything but the cord is from out along the tree line, and I made that in probably about a day. And it looks good. So that's it for now. Talk to you guys later, and have a good one.